Welcome to the KBB From the Tap podcast. I'm executive editor Chelsea Butler. This week, I am talking to brothers Chris and Calvin LaMont, who star on their own HGTV TV show, Buy It or Build It. We are going to chat about how to create boundaries when working with family members. Be sure to subscribe to KBB's YouTube channel and click the like button on our videos. You can also subscribe to the From the Tap podcasts on such apps as Apple, Spotify, Pandora, and Google Podcasts. And please feel free to leave a review. So welcome, Chris and Calvin, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chelsea, for having us.
Absolutely.
Hi, Miss Chelsea. How are you doing? Super excited
Tuesday
to be here.
And I'm thriving.
Well, we'll pick you up in this interview. We'll make sure everybody's excited when they're done watching this. So
Awesome.
we look forward to it. Thanks for inviting us.
Absolutely. So maybe you can start out by telling us how you all came to be hosts of an HGTV show, and also tell us a little bit about the show itself.
In 2016, Chris and I were already in business for around 4.5 years. We're 29 years old. And a talent manager or agent kind of approached us after kind of dealing with us and seeing us on other job sites and at events. And she was like, "Oh, you're you guys are funny. You guys are doing business. You're flipping houses. You remind us of the Property Brothers, of course, right? We're twins." And she thought that we'll be good on our own renovation television show. And of course, at that time, Chris and I weren't really looking for that. But when you hear TV, anybody's ears perk up. So we got excited and said, okay, well, we'll start the process. So she kind of introduced us to 4 production companies. And we met with all of them, put a deck together. We met with them, and they all loved us. So that was, Chelsea, that was great. So that was good news. They all wanted us to be a part of their production company, but we chose one production company at the time. So at this point, we're like 29 years old, about to turn 30. And we put together a sizzle reel, like kind of like a sizzle reel, like a 5-minute sizzle reel for the networks. And then they see it, they like it, and then they say, okay, well, do more. So we go back and we do another sizzle reel with the requested. So that was 2 times with them, but both times they said they were great, but not exactly what we're looking for, right? Then we fast forward a couple more years, around 2017, 2018, we film again with another production company, the one that we're currently with, JB Productions. And we film 2 more times for HGTV. They're like, okay, guys, it's great. We want you. Okay, do a little more. No, right? So that's 4 times. We get 4 no's, and we're like, man, me and Chris are like, well, all right, well, maybe it's not for us. And then in 2020, they came back one last time, Chelsea, and said, hey, guys, we think you're great for HGTV. Can you try one more time? And I guess
what do we say, Cal? We were like,
this is our last time. It's not 3rd time a charm. It's going to be 5th time a charm or nothing, right? So we filmed one more time, but this time, Chelsea, we changed the concept. The first time we were filming for our own show, it was called like the LaMont Brothers. It was more about flipping houses and us. On our last go around, this successful go around in 2020, we did it more about all of our businesses connected. So that's why it's called Buy It or Build It. But this time the show concept was me and my brother working with families to either show them one house to buy and then remodel. And that's what Chris does. He's the Buy It brother, or the family gets the option to build a house from scratch. And that's what I champion in the beginning of the show. And I'm the Build It brother. But after the family picks which way they want to go, which the audience doesn't know until the family knows. So when the family picks whatever house they want to go with, either the Buy It or Build It way, me and Chris come together as twin brothers, and Chris calls it Twin Vision, and we work together to make the family dreams come true. So we did that concept in 2020, 15-minute act. The network wanted to do a whole 15 minutes with a commercial and all that stuff. So we did that, sent it in. They came back and said in February of 2021, they said, hey guys, unfortunately, we can't give you one show, but we're going to give you 6 episodes on your first season, and congratulations. And we started filming in May, and the first episode aired last year, December 22nd, as a preview, and the season comes out like in June or August this spring and summer.
Well, that's awesome. So, Chris, maybe tell me a little bit about what it's like working with a family member, namely a twin brother.
Well, working with a twin brother might be a little different than working with another family member, but overall, obviously, you have your difficulties, right? Because they know you so well, so they're going to be really candid with you. So that can be a benefit and a plus. So Calvin and I, we do have a good time because we know each other and we're able to be really free in what we say. So when we're talking and we have an issue with what kind of color we want to put on the wall, or what kind of design we want to do, or what job we want to pick, any of those issues, we're going to really get our opinions out. But at the end of the day, we're going to come together and make, hopefully the right decision, even if we have to bring someone else in for a tiebreaker.
All right, Calvin, what's your input on what it's like working with your twin brother?
I agree. Working with a twin brother may give you a little more leeway than working with a husband or a wife, because of course, there's me and Chris being family men with kids and wives and fiancés, we know we have a little less leeway with our wives than we have with each other. And they make sure that we know that too, Chelsea, when we come home. So working with a twin brother is fun. It's honest. In my opinion, working with a family member, your goals are more aligned because you grew up together. You guys understand what you want. You spend more time outside of work together, maybe, than you did if it wasn't somebody that you were close to as a family member. But what I would say is you have to be a little more thick-skinned if you work with your family, because with all that comfortability with your family comes what? More directness. They're not biting your tongue. But it works both ways because it could be a benefit, because if Chris ever needed something out of business that maybe I didn't need because at a certain situation, it's easier for us to make that happen because we're family and we understand more, and we'll do those things for our family. So.
And Cal, sorry, just another thing that I think like a good thing about working with your brother or your family member is accountability. I think a lot of times when you're not working with someone, you try to get that accountability off. You're thinking about, okay, maybe we can go a different way. But when you're with your family, they're not going anywhere next year, 10 years from now, especially if there's a brother or a sister or somebody who's a blood relative. You're going to be there at Thanksgivings down the road. So at the end of the day, you have to have a certain kind of respect for that other person and accountability that you're going to do your job, that person's going to do their job, because you know that even if this business doesn't work out, at least everybody can go say, listen, we both did what we had to do. We are accountable, and we're not going to, we didn't do anything wrong to each other. So working with family members sometimes keep you more in line and keep you more accountable.
So on the other side of that, what are some of the issues you all might argue about? How do you come up with compromises?
So the other side of working with family could be some of the more negative side, Chelsea, or some of the downs?
Maybe things that you might get into a little tiff here and there about.
Oh, yes. Especially being brothers or sisters, right? If you're any family member, you're going to get in tiffs, right? But when Chris and I get in tiffs, you're more used to them. So that's one thing. Since we grew up getting into these issues, we understand that nothing lasts forever. Whatever anger or whatever feelings you have right now, it's not going to last forever, and there's another day ahead. So working with family and that love you have behind all those arguments kind of is that foundation, I believe, that allows you to always land back solid no matter what. So even though Chris and I argue about even whatever it could be, like you said, what type of marketing we want to do. The biggest thing Chris and I argue about probably most likely is about raising money and where to allocate certain dollars, of course, and actually how to execute on a business strategy, right? So we have the same goals when it comes to Chris and I want to buy land all around the nation. We buy land in Dallas and St. Louis all around, and we build houses for families, single family houses and townhomes, single family attached for lease and sale. But how we do that, Chris and I are like, well, no, you do it this way, or we need to do it this way, or, so when those times come up and you can't actually get a solution, that's when, somebody else in the company at a higher level or a mentor is always good to have. So I recommend, if you're working with family and it's only two of you guys, have some type of mentor. That can be a uncle, it could be a business partner, it could be your parents, just somebody that knows you guys, that you can be honest with, that can kind of cool you guys out and get you guys to a solution.
I was going to say, I thought that might make sense, that you had a third party maybe come in to kind of help.
It could even be dad. It could even be mom or dad sometimes, right? Anybody, just to get another idea about it. Because once again, Chelsea, what you said, when you're dealing with another family member, sometimes the arguments can get a little heated. And then sometimes they even go beyond what the business is talking about, because you know that person so much. Now you're talking about all types of stuff that got nothing to do with the with the question at hand. But because you guys know each other so much, you're fighting and doing those things, just trying to be right on something else so you can try to be right on that point. So I think a good thing is that sometimes, you have to just walk away sometimes, not talk, right? And then just try to figure it out, right? Emails, text, something because that arguing might not get it done. And then that worst case scenario, which also is not even a worst case, you should have this sometimes, is that third party person. I know sometimes you don't have that, but there's always someone that might not even be in the business. They don't have to know about exactly what you're doing. Just springboarding off some of those situations might just give you another idea about how it could be done. And maybe you might understand your brother or sister side, or cousins, or whatever side it is. In my case, Calvin's side, and then, we say, okay, we'll do it this way that time. And then sometimes I may win. I win a little bit more time sometimes, but hey.
Bye. Can I say one thing about that, about when you're going back and forth with tips, Chelsea? I think when you do that with family members and you understand that you have that foundation, so you're going to be there for the next day for the most part. Of course, there's situations where families split off and whatever, but if you have a strong foundation like Chris and I do, we're going to be there the next day. Having these arguments or these discussions that can get heated sometimes really gets you to the top of your game, Chelsea. So because Chris and I are questioning each other about certain things and asking about all the facts, you really have to know and be passionate about your ideals or your vision, because the other one's going to make sure you're on your game. Because there's any cracks in it, we're going to make sure we try to see what's going on, because we definitely want to, do what we want to do. So I think that's another positive. It makes you step your game up, because you have to make sure you have all the answers, because they're not going to bite your tongue. They're going to ask you 1,000 questions to make sure everything is right. So I think it's a positive a lot of times at the end, after all that discussion, with your brother or your family members.
So tell me some advice for other design professionals in our industry who work with family members, who might be thinking about working with family members. What's some of your advice for that?
I think the advice you should have is the first thing I would say is make sure the person you're going in business with has that same drive and determination to get the business or whatever you're going to do done, right? A lot of times there's one person that comes into the business and they need help, because obviously it's super hard to do anything by yourself, right? Almost impossible. So when you bring someone else in to help, you're really dragging them along, and it's, you're begging them to do something, or you just, they went in, begrudgingly, but they're still doing it with you. And that might not be the way to go, right? That's when sometimes having a family member will fail. You might be better off just getting an employee or grinding by yourself. But if you and your family member, your brother, sister, whoever, y'all on the same page and have the same goal, and you really want to do it, that's going to be the main catalyst, because now you guys know that, all right, I'm going to sacrifice a lot. I know I am. I want this a lot. And I know my cousin or whoever else is going to be on my team is going to sacrifice a lot, because we both can talk about this dream. We both want it. And I actually know him. I know he's going to work hard. So that's one thing I would say to, and then the second thing I would say before Cal goes would be basically know what you want to do, right? If you're a designer, or if you're, a builder, or if you're doing any type of things in our industry, having two different mindsets might help, right? someone that is more focused on the exterior or colors, and then you have somebody who's more on accents and finishes and things like that. Bringing those two together, now you have a broad range of ideas and like a broad range of what you want to do, and now you can serve more people. And when you're a small business, the more people you can serve at a quality and an efficient level, the longer you can stay in business till you make it big.
Agreed. And what I would say on that, and the belly of my brother Chris, is if you're going into business in the design industry, construction industry, development industry, like we are in, make sure your family member life situation is similar to yours. I know that's like, wait, huh? Because of the sacrifices you're going to need to make as a team, as family, as business owners. That's the first thing that your business partner, anybody, family or not, will regret if you're taking more money out of the company or you're taking more from the company and not giving enough time to the company because your personal or family situation calls for it. It's not an excuse. It's life. We understand. But if you have 3 kids and all these bills and you know that your family member only has no kids and single, and the sacrifice there, that might be the reason why you go. So understand your roles and your responsibilities, like Chris was saying, before you go in, even outside the business. So now you don't regret going in. You understand that, hey, I'm going to be more of the financial part of the business. I'm going to be more of the actually day-to-day in working. And that's how we're going to figure it out, because everybody always has has an asset when they bring to the company, right? You have your own skills, and you want to make sure that you're using those skills to the best of your ability and not having people do things they're not good at or can't do, because that's how you fail faster. So that's the first thing. Understand your lives as family members before you go into this thing, and understand the roles so you don't regret how things actually play out in your business. Then as designers, and my brother and I, and you're going into business with family, don't be scared to use your family. Don't be scared to have them go out there and be your mouthpiece. Chris and I you have to sell. So just go out there and don't be scared to sometimes you have to show your work. If that's doing it for what you think is less than your value, that's part of the marketing. That's what Chris and I did. And you have to understand, again, with your family member, if you guys are willing to sacrifice that time and not get paid, the things that my brother and I already were aligned with, to be able to get our name and brand out there. And then you can actually, start charging what you feel is your value. So those are a couple ideas from Kyle.
So, I mean, they always say, be careful before you go into business with one of your friends, or if you decide that you're going to, rent a place together or something like that. They kind of warn you against, borrowing money for friends and things like that. But I guess in a situation with your family, it's a little different, because you can't really ever get rid of the other person, right?
And that's where the accountability comes from, right, Chelsea? And that's where the accountability comes from, right? When you're with a friend, quote unquote, whatever that means, right? So how long you've been with the friend, how that person is, whatever. When times get hard, a friend can turn to a stranger real quick, and you had nothing to do about it. You go deal with your life, and you may never see him again unless you guys meet up in a Whole Foods or in the Target, right? But with a family member, that's why I think that as long as you guys have the alignment of, okay, we both want something very bad, and last thing, we're going to be humble getting it. If those two things can be in mind, it could be in check for both, parties, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, working hard, sacrificing, and being humble, then I think that the family dichotomy is actually pretty good, because now you can sacrifice together. You guys can come, you guys can live together. You guys can do more things and feel more acquainted with being together and being close, because you are family.
All right, I'm going to pivot a little bit, and I want to talk a little bit about how you all are able to, include diversity in your designs, designers, and contractors.
So going off of Buyer to Build It, we have so many people involved with the show. Not just Chris and I, we have so many people from different backgrounds and races and religions, and we're all putting our ideas together. And Chris and I we have the main vision, right? You know, we have the vision of either to build a house and to buy a house, but we also work with the families. So we understand that when working with families, they have certain things that they need in their life that goes in the houses. They have certain designs and certain wants and needs and likes and dislikes. So we take all those things together and we put those in our designs, and we come up with so many great diverse designs, because it's not just my brother and I thinking about what we experience and what we like. We're bringing all these things together. And then also, even within that, Chelsea, um, the different types. So like our contractors on the show that we work with are from all different backgrounds: Latino, Black, white. The designers that work with me that help me out, help to execute my vision on the show, are white, Black, Latino. So even the stage, so and then the client, it's just like real life. So our show is just kind of depicting like just like a lot of other shows on HGTV. We're grateful that Chris and I, we get to go on here and show people that, oh, not only do men love design and do design and successful. Hey guys, come on, you can watch this too. When your wife goes to the store and brings something, you can have an opinion. She might not listen, but but if you watch our show, your opinion will be better than it was before.
Exactly. And I think diversity in our show and we're bringing the HGTV is also our life, right? Coming from where we come from, playing sports, having a twin brother, traveling around the world, moving a lot, doing the water damage and yeah, basically everything that we've done is a different way than what the other HGTV hosts and anyone else who does design does, and what we've seen and how and what we like from being from the East Coast, also going to the West Coast, living in Dallas, Texas right now. That allows us to have our own flair, and you start to see similarities in certain areas, right? You can go to places in California. I can drop you off there, and you might think you're in Dallas, Texas, with the craftsmen's and the Spanish colonials and things like that. So when you start to travel, you start to see that everything starts to come together, and places in California take some things from Dallas and Texas and East Coast and vice versa. And we do the same thing as we travel and learn. And we like some things that are more aggressive, but we got wives and we got, we have people that like our designers and all of our stagers and stuff like that. We all come together and now we have a look that fits not just what Calvin and I like, but what overall would fit what Calvin and I like, and people that that would hang out with us, our wives, our family members, all together. So that diversity, what we give our team, actually comes out in what we do on the TV show and what we do, what we market and we promote off of the show. All that stuff comes as the team, and that's why it's so diverse, because we want to make sure everyone has a say, and it just makes a better product.
Yeah, we love to incorporate, like Chris was talking about, our travels. We traveled a lot growing up. Incorporate places that we go, buildings that we see. And nowadays with social media, we're even looking all around. So there's so many ways to be inspired, to make. So even though we do have certain signatures, Chelsea. So if you see, because Chris and I, we build all type of homes, from entry-level homes up to $1 million plus homes. And of course, we have more leeway with the $1 million plus homes because they're 4,000 square feet and the budgets are $750,000 and up. But we're taking the designs that we use in our $1 million homes and we're bringing those down to those homes that we're doing in the entry level also. You know what I mean? So we're always looking at how we can do better. How can we incorporate some of the things we do in these homes and bring it over here? And so we just, I think just having everybody included in our design and kind of executing Chris and our vision. Even though on the show, Chris is like the construction on the show, buy the building, Chelsea, you'll see Chris on the more day-to-day with the subcontractors and working with them. And then I'm in the GCs, and I'm more of the designer, working with the families and working with my designers under me, going to the retail shops and, kind of executing on the styles that we identify in the beginning of the show. If it's rustic modern, industrial modern, transitional, colonial, anything like that, our team executes that vision each show.
Well, my last question is going to be to ask each of you, your opinion of maybe one or two residential design trends that you think will gain traction this year and move into next year. And maybe if we could be somewhat specific to kitchens and baths, that would be helpful.
For the kitchen and baths, I would say
Chris, you go kitchen, I go bathroom, whatever you pick one, I'll do the other one. Go ahead.
Okay, then that sounds good. Look at you. All right, Cal. I'll agree with you, Cal. We're not going to argue over that. I'm going to agree to do that, and I'll
Working
go
with
pick
family.
one.
Good
Working with family,
compromise.
Chelsea. You
See, sometimes it works, but trust me, Chelsea, if you stay around us long enough, we're going to crack, and you're going to see.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
but I think in the kitchen, I think a couple of trends that we're doing is that we're covering up the refrigerator. Not not sure it's a new trend, but that's even at the lower price points. We want to blend in that refrigerator a little bit more and those appliances. So we're using the cabinets to come over that. And obviously the big thing is basically making the island more of a standout furniture piece than just a piece of just the cabinets, right? So rather than just having the shaker cabinet in your island compared with the shakers on the countertops, you're now having a actual piece of, a wood piece of furniture, something that has a little bit more depth in it and a little bit more character in your island, and like a centerpiece rather than just an extension of your cabinets.
That makes sense.
Nice.
Calvin, you want to take bathrooms?
Nice. Yeah, I'll take bathrooms. So the bathroom trends that we're doing in some of our houses on and off the air. But what you'll see on this show, and also Chris, just to add to Chris real quick, double islands. If your kitchen is big enough on the show, Chris and I are doing double islands because we it's just about that's where the heart of the home is in the kitchen. But going into baths, one trend that we're doing and we see that some people like, some people don't, we're putting the it's all about details, right? It details everywhere, but we're putting the standalone tubs into the showers. Mm-hmm. As these homes get smaller and we have to find ways to save space, we're finding that these homeowners do want stand-up showers and they want standalone tubs. And to execute on that and to give them a more custom look, we're doing oversized showers, double shower heads, and we're putting the shower in the standalone tubs and the standalone faucets either through the wall or separate in the showers. I think it's a great way to save space. I think it's cool, and if you execute it right, a nice tub, the proper size dimensions, where you have enough space around to be able to move. I think it's a great way to really make a spa-like bathroom, and also be able to execute on having your standalone tub and a shower in your bathroom.
Cal, you made a good point, Cal. Don't force it though. Everything that we talk about, right? The one thing that we would say, no matter what the trend is, I think the biggest trend is having space, and don't force everything into one area, right? So having enough space in your bathroom, maybe sacrificing the standalone tub for just the shower, or doing a shower, right? So either pick, if you don't have the space, let's not force two together. Let's have the space for that. Same thing for the kitchen. Have more space to walk around the island, have more space to do things around and be more free, because now everything is more family centered. So you don't want to be tight. You want to have more space. So you can do more with little spaces, but make sure you just don't fill them up with a whole bunch of stuff either.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say about design on that, which is great point, Chris, which is minimalist, right? Because of the past couple of years, a lot of more working at home, right, Chelsea? Kids are going from school from home more. People are not going out as much, even though they're starting to, but a lot of more events and a lot more activities are happening at the house. And that's why people want, when we're remodeling and building new construction homes, we're finding ways to store appliances. We're finding ways to store pantries. So we're just finding ways to hide more things and give more space and flow to the houses. And that's another overall trend that we're seeing and that we're actually doing with our homes in 2022.
Awesome. Well, it was so nice to meet you, Chris and Calvin. Thank you so much for telling us about your show and sharing your thoughts on the design trends and, talking about what it's like to work with family members. I'm sure our listeners and viewers will get a lot out of that, because I bet a lot of them probably, either work with family members already or thinking about maybe doing that in the future. So I really appreciate you coming on our podcast.
Yeah, we work with a lot, and last thing is we work with a lot of husband and wife, family teams from businesses, and they work really well. So don't be afraid. Go out there and do it, but just make sure you're accountable, make sure you're honest, and always make sure you watch By the Building coming out this summertime on HGTV. We appreciate you guys.